May I come in, sir? Thank you, sir. Good morning, sir. Good morning, sir. Good morning, sir.
Take a seat.
Thank you, sir.
Anirudh Yadav.
Sir.
Okay. You did an integrated degree, BTech and Tech in biotechnology.
Sir.
Yeah, the world is your scene. Yeah. Why civil service?
Indeed, sir.
Biotechnology is so much in demand.
Sir. So I had thought of a prospective career in biotechnology, and to that end I had done a lot of research internships. But through my research internships, I learned 3 lessons, sir. So the first being that a prospective career in the civil services or academia are 2 sides of the same coin, sir. So secondly, for a career in biotechnology, the usual route that was suggested by my professors was that I would have to go abroad and do about 10 years of research over there, which was not something I was willing to do, so I wanted to stay in the country. And so thirdly, towards the end of my master's, my interest in research had waned a little bit, which is why I eventually made the transition, sir.
Okay. Your subject is anthropology.
Sir.
Yeah. Can you tell me something about synthetic theory of evolution?
Sir. So the synthetic theory of evolution was an overall summation of the previous theories that were given, which includes Darwin's theory of evolution. The synthetic theory of evolution gives a 3-stage process of evolution, where the first is generation of variation through mutations. This can happen through various means such as mutation, recombination, hybridization, etc. So the second step comes in choosing the right species, that is survival of the fittest, where the environment chooses. And so the third is development of a particular species that happens either through geographical distance between 2 species or independence in terms of finding a particular niche, food or area, etc. So.
Okay. You are from IIT Delhi.
Sir.
Earlier there used to be just 4 or 5. Now there are too many IITs, NITs.
Indeed.
You think the brand value of IIT has been diluted over the period of time?
Sir, I believe that the brand value of IITs has certainly been diluted to a certain extent. However, sir, this was something that was a need of the hour, as we were seeing a lot of issues of brain drain in the country, where individuals were leaving NITs and going abroad in search of better jobs or education. To this extent, the government decided to open up new institutions, not only such as the IITs or NITs, but also new AIMS, NLUs, etc., sir, in order to retain a lot of the human capital that we have within the country, sir.
You think the brain drain has come down?
Certainly, sir, I like to believe so. So through my personal experience, I have a lot of batchmates who, instead of going abroad, getting a very good job or a very good master's degree, chose to stay in India, chose to go for startups, chose to sit for the civil services exam. And there is a certain inherent feeling inside a lot of the youth in the nation to stay in the country and do something for the country itself, sir.
Okay. One of this thing is studying causes and prevention of aging.
Sir.
All of us are aging. Enlighten us. Any finding?
Sir. So the primary finding is based on research that was done as recently as 2016, sir, and which has conclusively found out the cause of aging, sir. And so the primary takeaway from this is that the age-old wisdom of eating primarily vegetables, sort of sleeping at least 8 hours a day to prevent mental degeneration and stay away from Alzheimer's, etc. And so thirdly, exercising about 180 minutes or more on a daily basis is something that everyone can do. Apart from that, sir, there are new supplements that have come out that have been tested on animals, that have been tested, now human trials are going on, and the results are beyond exceptional, sir. And the results are so good that WHO has now classified aging as a disease. So because now they realize that aging is not something that is a natural process, but is something that can be controlled and can be reversed, sir.
Okay. But exercising for 180 minutes, 3 hours?
Sir, per week, sir.
Per week?
Per week, sir.
Okay. All right.
That's manageable.
That is manageable. Okay. Now I find some problem in your service choice and cadre choice.
Sir.
You haven't opted for Agmod. You don't like Agmod?
Sir, having stayed in Delhi all my life, sir, I would wish for my future experiences to be a little more diverse. So being born and brought up in an urban environment, I've always felt that I should go to the rural parts of the country and learn more, sir, which is why I opted for Haryana, Maharashtra, etc. Sir.
How it will help if you go to Haryana and posted in Gurgaon?
Sir, I believe it will still be a lot more better than the situation in Delhi, sir.
Okay. And for your service choices, you have left out so many Group A.
Sir.
Why so?
Sir, I'm currently serving in the Indian Information Service, sir.
That I didn't know. That is not part in the DAF. Okay. You are already in Indian Information Service.
Sir.
Which batch?
So 2021 batch, sir.
Okay. All right.
Taking from there,
Sir.
see, for example, you have Doordarshan.
Sir.
And Doordarshan has expanded so rapidly, so beautifully.
Indeed, sir.
Okay. What is the case for and against running a newspaper along similar lines of Doordarshan?
So may I take some time to think about it?
Please do. That's the idea.
So starting a newspaper on the lines of Doordarshan, so speaking for the topic, sir, I would say that the first is that in an era of fake news and paid news, so the government, Doordarshan, Prasar Bharati is currently the most trustworthy source, and having a government newspaper would ensure that the news we are reading on an everyday basis and consuming is something that is a lot more credible. So secondly, this would also, because a lot of the newspapers are something that is profit generating, this would also make the Prasar Bharati more self-sufficient with respect to revenues. And so thirdly, because it would be a government newspaper not only driven out of profit, we would see that the reach and extent of this newspaper would extend to rural areas, would extend to tribal areas in their local languages, even if it is not profitable for the newspaper to function in these areas. So speaking against it, sir, I would say that given that this would be under the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting, there in the future there might be an instance where this particular tool of information might be misused, and thus, sir, I believe that buttressing this idea with a certain amount of checks and balances and a regulatory framework can certainly make it a very good idea, sir.
Excellent, excellent. Okay, since you are from the hallowed precincts of New Moti Bagh and your father is in the IB,
Sir.
What can you tell me about, okay, RAW was carved out of IB.
Sir.
Now we have a curious system. Right from Pandit Nehru's time, CBI was kept with the PMO,
Sir.
DOPT, PMO, whatever. It is essentially the PMO. DOPT was always a part of.
Sir.
Okay. IB was always Home Minister's domain, and RAW has become the Cabinet Secretary's domain.
Sir.
Tell me, why and how? MI5, MI6 report to the same person.
Indeed, sir.
CIA and FBI report to nobody. They are so autonomous,
Sir.
right? So why is this?
So my understanding is that the differences in the relative departments is something that is related to an institutional legacy, as 2 out of these 3 bodies were set up during the time of the, this was set up in the pre-independence time. So the CBI
RAW came about
in 1968, sir. So 2 out of the 3 bodies were set up pre-independence.
Okay, yeah, okay.
And sir, I think functionally this differentiation is somewhat is not something that affects the intelligence and national security perspective, as we have the cabinet committee on security, and additionally, sir, unofficially from what we read in the newspapers, so the director of the Intelligence Bureau, the RAW chief, and the director of the CBI often have a lot of meetings together. They sit with the Home Minister and the Prime Minister.
That's now.
Sir.
I specifically said CBI and IB,
Sir.
they go back to Nehruji's time. Nehruji's time, actually. But there's something very interesting. CBI is formed under what? The Special?
Delhi Special Police Establishment Act, sir.
So it starts with the word police, and police is completely Mr. Home Minister's purview.
Indeed, sir.
Okay. It was originally the political, don't say it aloud, I am willing to say it on record, because the then PM did not want the then HM to have immense powers. So CBI was taken out.
Thank you, sir. I was not aware of this.
Yeah, think along these, but you don't have to say it aloud. My last question. Why is it that quite a few, army has a completely neutral, political neutral, caste neutral, religion neutral profile, isn't it? It's one of the most hallowed institutions that way. But we still see a He regiment, Jat regiment, Rajput regiment.
Sir.
Isn't it through with the times? And what is the development in this regard? How would you like to break the caste barrier to some extent?
So the reason for a lot of the battalions or a lot of the commands being made on the basis of caste or a particular region is one, because of legacy, and two, sir, one of the foremost reasons why the Indian Army has been so effective is because of a loyalty, perhaps not in a lot of spaces to the country, but to the command, sir. Even when they're on the battlefield, there are anecdotal evidences, sir.
You've got it. I'll just take one more. So you talked about aging and vegetarian and this and that. How do you see the progress of mock meat?
Sir, I believe mock meat is certainly something that will completely revolutionize the agricultural system.
How would you, as the DM,
sir,
or as a policy planner in the Secretariat,
sir,
encourage mock meat? What are the couple of steps you would take? That was my last question.
So I believe that a three-pronged approach must be utilized in this. So the first would be to ensure that the local agricultural university, or if there's an institution with a biotechnology R&D, works on the same and ensures that there is a feasible way of generating the mock meat, which can also be put in the market at a competitive rate to the real meat. So secondly, there has to be awareness generation to the public as a whole to make sure that the safety issues or any apprehensions with regard to anything else.
Now the third and most crucial issue, which you have kept for the last.
And so the third would be the fact that explaining that mock meat utilizes 95% less water, sir. Mock meat utilizes about 99% less land.
That comes in second. Awareness, spreading awareness. What is the most crucial element here?
So the third point would be that the animals that are getting killed from an ethical perspective would not be killed, and the mock meat would certainly.
No. So, the biggest determinant would be to match the taste to the real thing.
Sir.
Okay, otherwise people will keep treating it as paneer. You have to match the taste so research has to be there. Anyway, continue, Kenya.
Yeah. What is India's grain output?
Sir, I'm not aware of the exact number, sir.
Okay. So now that we can produce enough grain for everybody,
sir,
what prevented us ab initio to do the same? And why initially we were doing millets and all these coarse grains. So what prevented us from going for coarse grains at that stage? Nobody tied our hands.
So I believe that the transition happened because of the Green Revolution, wherein the new high yielding varieties of rice and wheat which came up were incentivized by the government, and a lot of the farmers took up these grains because of the higher MSP, one, and so two, because of access to irrigation, fertilizers, etc.
But India could have made high yielding varieties of coarse grains also.
Indeed, sir.
What prevented us from doing so?
Sir, I believe
you are a biosciences student.
Sir, I believe that on a global level, the biotechnological advances with respect to hybridization technologies were primarily focused were primarily seen from Western countries, the case studies, and so grains such as wheat, grains such as maize, grains such as rice was something that were tried and tested, and this technology was superimposed in India, sir.
Okay. Okay. regarding fertilizer,
Sir.
what is the ratio in which fertilizer should be applied? NPK.
Sir. So the ratio is 4:2:1, which is the ideal ratio, sir.
And what actually is happening?
Sir, I believe the current ratio is 4:1.2:0.3, sir.
Or is it 8:2:1?
Yes, if we take that down to 4:1.3, yes, sir.
Okay. And one fertilizer has been made green.
Sir.
Why?
Sir, are you referring to the neem coated urea, sir?
Yes.
Sir. So the reason for the neem coating of urea was twofold, sir. One was that neem coating of urea ensures that the release of nitrogen into the soil is something that happens slowly, which allows for higher efficacy of absorption by the soil. And two, sir, neem has some certain antibacterial properties, which ensures that a lot of the weeds and the pests can be avoided, sir.
This is for public consumption. What was the real reason behind it?
Sir, I believe that the real reason was a lot of excess subsidy was being used for urea, sir. And this method ensures that the amount of urea used is a little lesser, sir.
Yeah. See, if more urea is used, it's good for the country.
Indeed, sir. So the NPK ratio is such that we need to reduce the amount of urea used and increase the potassic and phosphatic fertilizers, sir.
So the real reason was that urea was being misused to produce ammonia, and basically it was going for refrigeration industry. Yeah, it was going for industrial use.
Indeed,
so all the subsidy was going waste.
Sir.
So this way they have stopped it. Okay. Okay. One state, one country rather, has just been made member of NATO, and that has a huge border with Russia, and nobody said a word about it. Which country?
Sir, I'm not aware of the country.
Finland. Finland has 1340 kilometers of border with Russia, sir. And nobody said a word about it. Sir. Then why there is problem with Ukraine?
So one of the primary reasons for the problems with Ukraine was that after the Cold War also there were promises, and after the Second World War also there were promises that the eastward expansion of the Western world would stop. And additionally, sir, the Ukraine and Russia have had historical links and understandings with regard to relations to the West. And so this was perhaps seen as the last area where if Western weapons are placed, then that would place an existential threat.
No, but with Russia. Finland getting a border with Russia, sir, and becoming a NATO member, I mean now Russia will attack Finland?
Indeed, sir. So the analogy is absolutely parallel with regard to Ukraine. And
so you think Russia should attack Finland now?
No, sir, I do not believe that Russia should attack Finland, sir. I believe that with regard to the present crisis that is going on, and so like institutions such as the United Nations and India have also maintained that war is not the solution and peaceful dialogue should be the way forward.
No, I think what point you are missing is that Ukraine was formerly a part of Russia.
Yes.
What's the difference between the two situations?
Yeah.
That's what he's
yeah. And so they can't digest that.
Indeed, sir.
It's our own baby who is rebelling. Right? So that's the thing. Anyway, my last question. We are talking of urban employment guarantee scheme in one state. Now, already the cost of settling the person in a city is very high. So do you think it's a good idea to incentivize people to come and live in cities and then give them urban employment guarantee? Or do you think it's a stupid idea?
Sir, I believe that the idea of an urban employment guarantee scheme should only be introduced after we have adequate capacity in urban areas. And additionally, sir, the idea of like we have the MG Narega, the idea was to generate rural employment, while in urban areas, sir, they are urban areas because they provide a lot of employment opportunities, which is the reason for individuals to shift to urban areas. So I feel that the rural employment guarantee scheme is something that is required in the rural areas. However, sir, in urban areas, I do not see that there is an explicit requirement for the same, sir.
Okay, which state has introduced this?
Sir, I believe it is Chhattisgarh, sir.
from Rajasthan. Okay.
Okay. Welcome, Mr. Yadav.
Sir.
See, you have given in your DAF, studying causes and prevention of aging.
Sir.
Stem cell therapy is a very revolutionary therapy.
Indeed, sir.
And what are the ethical issues involved with it? Why governments are not promoting it in the way it should have been done to help the aging process?
So the primary issue, so one of the primary issues with stem cells is that these stem cells can be utilized to do other interventions such as cloning, etc. of a particular individual, and these concerns were further aggravated by the Chinese development in 2019, where 2 babies were cloned, sir. So secondly, the second ethical issue is with regard to the cost and how it permeates inequality. That while a lot of the rich people who have access to the technologies can access it and perhaps live for longer, the same is not allowed for others.
See, many countries are struggling with the growing old age population. Japan is one of the countries. Many other countries are also. Europe, lifespan is going up. Once we do this control the aging, then non-productive old age population will be quite high. How to deal with that is a great problem for the future.
So the fundamental idea behind the research behind aging is to not only extend the lifespan, but to also ensure that the latter years are productive. So we have a lot of instances where individuals living in places like Sicily and in certain islands on Japan work till the age of 110. They're doing their agricultural work, etc. So the idea is to ensure that not only the age, but also the biological aspects related to age are somewhat mitigated and a person continues to remain healthy.
If bureaucrats start retiring at the age of 80, then youngsters will not get jobs.
So perhaps there can be a second career after 60 where one can balance their hobbies and their careers.
Okay. See, you have opted for revenue service also. Now, what do you understand by the tax base?
So the tax base is the number of individuals who would be paying tax in a particular country. Sir.
So what is the tax base of India? I am talking about direct taxes. Basically, tax base would mean by direct taxes only.
So the number of individuals who fill the returns is about a little over 4%, while the number of people paying tax is between 1.5 and 2%.
So a country like India, we want to become 10 trillion economy and developed economy. If only 1.5% people pay taxes, how can we reach to that level, to a developed nation when people don't pay taxes?
Absolutely, sir.
What is the solution?
Sir, I feel the first part would be formalization. So because a lot of the small industries in many parts of India are not formalized, they are not registered. And to this extent, there's the MSME registration scheme, which ensures that any individual who wants to take the benefits of the government schemes has to register on the platform. Secondly, sir, we have the GST program, wherein we have seen that it incentivizes individuals to sign up in order to get the input tax credit. So this has worked wonders in the field of the industry, sir, as we have ensured.
See, okay, I agree with you. But see, not only the small shopkeeper, it is the professionals, lawyers and the doctors.
Sir.
They don't pay that much taxes doing private practice.
Sir.
And that's the problem. So how to bring everybody, because tax is the base of any economy. Unless we expand it,
Indeed.
We cannot reach a level we want to reach.
So on the individual level, sir, we have seen that technologies such as UPI, etc., which encourage digital payments of which a record can be kept. And so secondly, reducing the amount of black money in the economy, that is cash transactions. So most of the cash transactions initiate from the businesses themselves, sir. And so this is reduced through the functionality of GST, etc. And so at an individual level, promoting the use of digital technologies and also keeping a cap on the amount of payments that can be made in shops, etc. with cash will ensure that the usage of this cash stops.
But see, the circulation of cash, the demonetization, one of the purpose was to reduce the circulation of cash. But after demonetization till late 2022, our cash currency circulation increased by 84%.
Indeed,
you know that. Then even after UPI and digital everything, this is going up. We're not reaching anywhere.
Indeed, sir.
So what to do?
So this is primarily, so all of the cash transactions either arise from corruption, they arise from business deals that have a certain cash component. And so one idea to solve this would be technology. And so secondly, tracking individual expenses. So the IT department itself conducts raids, having a system of grievance where individuals can file complaints.
There is one tax information system. Do you know about that?
I'm not aware of that.
Okay. One last question, small. Have you heard of NSC co-location scam?
I'm sorry, sir.
NSC, National Stock Exchange,
Sir.
co-location scam. There was
I'm not
a few
aware.
years back, the old news.
No,
No.
sir, I've not heard of it.
Okay, fine. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Anirudh,
Sir.
what are the rights of tribes under the Forest Rights Act?
So, so the Forest Rights Act of 2006, so firstly gives the individuals a right over their land if they can prove continuous settlement over there for more than 75 years. And so the limit of this is up to 4 hectares. So the second right is with respect to communities, that the communities can have community land wherein they can practice their normal cultural activities, etc. So the third right is with respect to conservation and protection of forest, where the tribes and the traditional forest dwellers have been accepted as traditional caregivers and inhabitants of the forest, and the commensurate rights have been given to them with respect to picking of local produce, etc.
Minor forest produce.
Minus forest. Yeah,
Okay.
indeed.
You have mentioned about the local tribes being given or recognizing rather them as caregivers.
So,
But sometimes it is said that the development process looks at the local populations of tribals merely as workers and not as owners of the forests.
indeed, sir.
What are your views?
I believe that I absolutely agree with this statement, sir. And sir, there have been a lot of anecdotes, especially in states such as Jharkhand and Chhattisgarh, where a lot of projects that came up, they all promised that under the Rehabilitation Act and Resettlement Act, adequate housing, jobs, etc., skilling would be given. However, these individuals, their homes are taken away from them, and so they only used as menial laborers on the site. So the new homes they're supposed to get are never completed. So the fundamental problem is that their socio-cultural life revolves around the forest. So their relations with each other revolves around the forest, and once this is taken away from them, so they don't have anything and they're not able to live in the relocated place.
Okay. This year we are hosting the G20 summit,
So,
and Putin and Xi recently, in a joint statement, they criticized the G20 for politicizing the forum. What was the criticism about?
so the primary criticism related to the fact that G20 is not the ideal forum for politicization with respect to issues of war. As this would lead to an impasse and make the entire G20 system not something that is functional anymore. And so there are other international fora such as the United Nations Security Council to deal with the same issue of war, and perhaps they should be utilized instead of the G20. Sir.
Okay, you mentioned the UN Security Council.
Sir.
How successful has the UN Security Council been in resolving conflicts in recent times?
Sir, I believe that so it is my understanding that the performance of the UN Security Council has been somewhat below par, sir, as the Russia-Ukraine conflicts, issues in Israel and Palestine, so issues during the Kosovo war, sir, and so this is primarily, I think it stems from the veto power, where any resolution that has to be passed, because there are 5 countries that can veto it, always one country who is a vested party in one of the wars, sir, does not allow it to.
We often say that India and of course some other countries should also become members of the UN Security Council. What is the case for expanding the Security Council?
So India is part of what they call the G4, sir. India, Brazil, Japan and Germany wish to be included in the UN Security Council. And so their primary argument is that the global reality since 1945 has changed. All 4 of these countries have come to occupy a very vital and important part in global decision making. And additionally, sir, this is part of only some of the other reforms they also recommend. such as ensuring that the veto power goes away, there is a majority, more power be given to the UN General Assembly, etc.
Okay. Other than the Security Council, what other reforms in the UN system are we seeking?
Sir, I'm not aware of any other.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, Anirudh, your formal interview is over.
Sir.
How did you fare today as per your own assessment?
Sir, I've given an interview after a long time, sir. And sir, I feel I could have done a lot better. Sir, I feel my knowledge is lacking in certain areas, such as the questions about international relations, the Russia-Ukraine crisis. And I feel I need to brush up on these topics, sir.
Okay. You see, your second preference being IPS and your father being in IPS himself, there may be some questions on policing,
Sir.
intelligence, so you should be prepared for that. Second lot is the government programs.
Sir.
You should learn about all the government programs that are running. There are a plethora of them. Yeah. Some relating to bureaucracy. Yeah. Have you heard of that?
So the Karam Yogi, sir.
Yeah. So go through that also.
Sir.
Are you reading any newspaper?
Indeed, sir. So I'm reading the Indian Express and the Hindu, sir. The Indian Express and the Hindu.
Okay. But I think your reading is very perfunctory.
Indeed, sir. A lot of the days I
Yeah.
end up skipping, sir, because my training exams are going on.
Exactly.
Sir.
So do read it thoroughly because there will be some questions from that day's newspaper itself.
Sir.
And when is your interview?
So it's on the 16th of May, sir.
Lot of time.
Sir.
Yeah. So brush up your current affairs, read the newspaper and analysis. Are you watching any TV channel?
No, sir.
Start watching Sansad TV
Sir.
or beyond for foreign affairs related issues.
Sir.
Yeah, that will help you. I think that's all.
See everything, knowledge gaps, some analysis gaps, just figure it out. Okay. The best part about you is that you are gesticulating well and you are not rattled right till the end. If you don't know something, you don't allow it to affect your next answer, which is a huge positive. Just go along with it. Brush up. You know yourself what. Last time I believe I interviewed you and I must have given you some suggestions. I forget what. So you have to expect the low-hanging fruits questions. Okay. Don't commit a bloomer like Raw has done. Legacy and all that. Also, when you say legacy, you can easily say that it was British times. The British didn't have time to, structure the army contingents.
Sir.
So just picked up people from one particular community thinking that they will bond better.
Sir.
In their own country, they used to pick up people from one village.
Indeed, sir.
So that the community should bond. Your answer was eventually correct, but you took a longish way coming to that. Make it crisp. Make it crisp. Try and reduce your 20-second answers to 15 seconds or 10-second answers. That's all I'll advise you right now. Anything else to add?
Just one small observation. When you are answering one member, please keep giving glances to other members also, because 80% you concentrate on him, but in between the answers you please engage others also. Okay? So that they should also concentrate on you.
Yes. Well done.
Okay. All the best.
You want to say
That's
something?
very good thing of aging. One of the people will be above 60. So you can trap them and bring them in your area.
Some very good development you told that you give us, what is the development we want to?
Yes, sir. So there are two called. So one is NMN, sir.
So anything, ready any capsule?
Yes, sir. Yes.
So give us.
Available, sir.
Bring 5 capsules.
Capsule of what?
Bring 5 capsules at least.
Okay, you want to take the exam again?
So the capsule of the anti-aging supplements.
You please bring 5 capsules.
But importantly, say that no capsule can give you anti-aging property. It's a combination of all five.
Absolutely.
There's no shortcut to prevent aging. Right?
Okay.
And
Thank you. All the best.
Good
All
luck.
the best.
All the best.
And when you enter, you say good morning, sir, 5 times.
Yeah.
No need to say.
Yeah.
Good morning. If there is a madam, then good morning, madam, and good morning, sir. If there is sir, one only.
Just one. Okay.
Go through the Better India website. It will give you a lot of ideas.
Okay.
Sure.
एक कोई गुड न्यूज टीवी करके भी है गुड न्यूज टीवी ऑल पॉजिटिव्स संसद टीवी एंड वायन WION
Yes, sir.
वर्ल्ड इज वन न्यूज इनमें बहुत अच्छा एनालिसिस आता है इंटरनेशनल इवेंट्स का और संसद में संसद टीवी में दिस विल कीप यू ओके
Wish you all the best.
Thank you, sir.
Last time you got how many marks?
So I've given it twice, sir. Once I got 173, once 190, sir.
Good.
do better you will do more therefore I am
Yeah. Written अच्छा हुआ?
So yes, I believe so, sir.
okay
You make it.
Okay.
You make it.
All the best.
All the best.